time. All right, good. So we are just talking about how it's, challenging to get all this information into our brain cells and learn everything. Is it mostly memorizing the challenge or also understanding? I think it was Isaiah, right? Isaiah, sorry about that.
No, it's okay. It's like that. It's actually both. So because like for some of the lectures they're pretty long, and being able to memorize them, and then the words itself are kind of like difficult to pronounce, so you kind of have to go with abbreviations and stuff.
Right.
It gets a little tricky trying to remember them when some of the times the words can mean the same thing with other words, but it's being precise with the words that makes it tricky. And then there's a bunch of them, so it's like a lot of terminology, to be honest.
Yeah, one thing that in the booklets, and it's maybe a little too hidden, and maybe I should put it also here. If you look at the last page of booklet 2 and 3, you got these barcodes that you can, not the back page, but the infold, and you got these barcodes for extra material in there.
Yeah.
And in there you have muscle cadaver videos. It's the second one. And what that does, it gets you to a Dropbox. And I think I'm gonna put a link also into the test review, because what that does, it gets you into a, hold on, you see my screen?
Yeah, I do.
I think it's here. Let me see. No, it's the other one. So that gets you to this folder, and this folder has every muscle that we need described on a cadaver. Let me just show you, like, where are we at right now? Scalenes. We did scalenes, right?
Yeah, we already did that.
So scalenes, for example, it goes like that. It's like 30 seconds or so.
Okay.
Like 55 seconds. We can handle that.
Next, we'll add the 3 scalene muscles to the picture.
So you have a visual vision explaining.
Middle scalene and posterior scalene. They arise from the transverse processes of the lower 5 cervical vertebrae.
See, and it shows you on the bone as well.
Yeah.
And so that's a really good tool, I think, to understand it better.
Yeah, it's a lot more.
So that's something that I think you can access it through the booklets, but I will also put it as a link. Let me just do that real quick, because I can do that as we talk. And then I don't forget.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe not. Maybe I do it afterwards. But what I'm going to do with that is I'm going to put it under in your module test 2 review.
Okay.
Come on. Everything slows down when we're on Zoom. So here under module test 2 review, you have the FYI review videos and pictures. And so in there, I'm going to put that link in there as well. So you can just click in it. Like on the bottom here somewhere, I'm going to put a Cadaver video link or something. But also, these are also, some people find these useful to listen to or watch and just get the material presented sort of fast,
brief.
And on the models that I use for the test, which is what you really want to prepare yourself for. And then the other thing I wanted to say also about, well, there's other links too on here that are really useful. I think you should look at all of them maybe on this last page of the booklet 2 and 3, and just see which one you like. There's some cutouts for flashcard, for muscles, and sometimes just labeling things over and over is very helpful with this material once you sort of understand it. And of course, trying to make sense of the name that we're looking at, because a lot of the times the name kind of gives it away. That helps. But then the other thing that I think is very important is to also understand how the test is and what I'm asking you on the test. And so I just wanted to review that maybe, because then you can sort of gear your studies, because I'm not as much concerned about memorizing it as much as you understanding it, because the tests are open book tests, so you can use the material. Because for my perspective, then you have a much better application later on when you actually know where to look it up. And this is such a review kind of, or overview kind of class in many aspects. And we still try to go quite deep, that I rather have you focus on the understanding of the material than on the memorizing alone of the names. You got to be understanding what things are at, and you have to be quick enough to look up the terms. But I give you quite enough time for this test 2. And test 2, all you need to know is the terms on the term list that you all have. And if you have not, then you have that. Oh, I just clicked on it. Hold on.
Is this off of term list 1?
Then you can be in this FYI test review thing. And here it says term list. And so you can just click there, and then it gets you another one of those lists. And then you definitely want that in paper printed out. You should have it already. And that should be your reference, because those are the things that I use on the test. And all you're going to do is on this test is to label things that I point out to you. So that's a good thing to have. And then the other link is also good. The pictures that are used on test 2 is also a good link to have, because you can print out or not print out, however you'd like to do it. But these are the models that I use on the test. And so I will be pointing at structures during the test, and then you have to write down what that structure is and type it. It's a fill in the blank kind of quiz format, the way it's done, like the questions you have every time, some of them become fill in the blanks. And so that's what that is. But all you do is you copy the term from, like, let's say I say, what's this landmark here called? And you say, oh, look, that's the glabella. It's between the eyebrows. And then on your list, you go down and you go like, blah, blah, blah. Oh, look, glabella right here. Let me just copy that to that and type it in. And then it does grade it in the background. And then I go through everything to make sure the spelling errors are not taken off, points are not taken off for that. So that's a little bit tricky with that tool. People sort of get a little shocked. It's like, oh my God, my grade is not good. And you have to wait till I go through it. And that, depending on how many students take it all at once, might take me a couple of days, because it's quite a bit of work for my end, actually. But that's what you want to focus on. So when we can go to the test, if I'm just opening that thing up briefly to give you a little preview, since we've already given you the first question away, I might as well just open it and show you how that first question looks. And I'll take a moment. So with this, you want to make sure you use, if you can, use Chrome or something. I think Safari sometimes is a little slow. And of course, mine is hecka slow today. But what I'm basically uploading here are pictures, and then small little video clips of the same things that I'm asking. Oh, look, here it is. So like question 1 is, I'm asking you, name this landmark. And then I have a picture, and it points to this structure right here. And then I also embedded a video that points to the same structure. It's like 15 seconds or so, it's not long. And you can, maybe it works, maybe it doesn't work. And because all this gets a little goofy, I think the best way to take actually a test like this is on the phone. They seem to be the most consistent. But I then have the video where I explain this so quick.
All right, the first question is a landmark that is between the superciliary arches.
And then you have slow motion that you can really look at it again. And if that link doesn't work for you, or maybe you don't want to, but if it doesn't work, then I have it here as a link as well, and an embedded thing here that you can also look at. Or I also have the picture as a link externally that you can click on it as well, in case it's difficult to access it. It's never been a problem for people, unless the internet is down, then we just have to think about what to do anyway. And then what you do is you write in here glabella, and then that will be your question 1 that you answer. So I ask for landmarks in that test, and I ask for bones in that test. And then I also ask for muscles in that test. And if you look at the list, you see here the bones, you got the main bones, like the frontal bone here. And then underneath, you got the landmarks of that bone. And so if I ask for the landmark, like question 1 is a landmark, I ask for what's that landmark, and it was the glabella. And so you don't say frontal bone, you say glabella. You say the smallest possible part. So if I ask for a landmark, you give me the part of the bone that is that piece. If it's a hole, or if it's a bump, or if it's like that glabella thing, then you give me that. If I ask for bone specifically, then you just give me the bone. Like I ask maybe for, some of these things are mostly bony. So maybe I ask for the palatine bone or so, or the nasal bone, because I don't have landmarks on it. And so that we need to make sure that I'm going to say that a few times. And then the other thing I'm asking for is muscle. So I'm asking for 3 things: bones, landmarks, and muscles. And the test is 54 questions. And so you basically don't have to memorize all of these terms. You mainly want to know where they're at. You want to understand it, maybe in your booklet, maybe you print out some of your own pictures that you find on the internet, and then you apply your knowledge that way. And so I want to make sure you understand that, because it can be quite intense to try to put all of these terms into one's brain cells, in such short time. And then the other thing is, once you've done that test, then that knowledge we put to the side, and I'm not going to have you bring it back for the final or anything. Good. So that's what we actually just open up with the first question. Does that kind of give you guys a little helpful stuff to focus on for this week, or at this point already? Anybody?
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward.
Pretty straightforward. Okay, good. So I'm just going to put that link in there, link the videos, and then, that gives you a few more tools in that test section under the review. And then when we look at, yeah, go ahead.
Hey, Professor, are we still on the module 11 or module 12?
Hold on. I have to share this with you guys. Wait. Where's my sharing? There's my sharing. You are on, I don't know. Let me see.
Or module 9 and 10?
We are, I started grading some. Oh, how are these these other exercises going for you guys? This posture and all that stuff. You guys enjoying doing some of that? These integration things?
They hurt.
They hurt. Which the injury prevention one?
Of course.
I know, right? Yeah, I know. Well, we all got a little corona fatigue or something. Okay, what was it quite? We are today, we finished the upper extremities. So now we're getting to the lower extremities. And this week, you want to kind of integrate that whole stuff with the lower extremities. And then next week, we'll do that test and start working on the heart. Oh, I got to put dates in there. These dates are wrong. And then we start working on the 3rd section. So this week, you're going to have the lower extremity and integrate all the other stuff material. That's why I only have one module here. Yeah, last week was a big one. Does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. And then, you do the best you can. But my goal is that by the end of, not this week, but by the end of next week, you're taking this test. You apply that knowledge that you're learning now with all these muscle names and all that stuff. And I want you to focus on that, of course, do this little injury prevention workshop thing, and that will, that hopefully integrates the information a little bit more. Maybe when you sit down and study for 2 hours or something, and then you take a break and you do something practical, and then, that integrates it a little. But that's what I would focus on. And then if you have questions, you reach out, and I'm definitely here to, answer your questions or help you with the material. If things are unclear, if somebody wants to make a session during the week to get, a little study session where I can do some Q&A for an hour or so, let me know. I can do that. We can just set something up. There's no problem with that, especially now that, it gets closer to the testing time and you really want to start learning how to apply that knowledge a little bit more. That makes sense? Well, that might be helpful.
Yeah, I have another question.
Yes, sir.
When are you going to open the test for the test 2? Is it also going to be a week in advance notice, or what's the case on that?
The test 2 is from the 11th to the 17th, at least the way I had it planned. Is that sensible, or you guys feel that's, you wanted a little earlier opening? Because we can be a little flexible on that. Yeah, I basically open it on Monday at 11 next Monday, and then it closes the following Sunday.
I think that's cool.
I think that should be giving you enough time. And if we open it too soon, I make sure you don't take it too soon, because you only get one shot on the tests. It's not like the quizzes where you can do it over and over again. Yeah, make sure you know that the quizzes, the questions on every module, you can take those over and over, and the highest score will count. So you don't have to leave as a low score because of something happened or you just didn't feel like finishing it right or so. All right. Good. Well, with that, I think we are pretty good. I don't have too much more that I need to go through. Anybody else have questions or want to share something, comments, or how are these, posture workstation exercises for you, or, things like that?
I have a question.
Yes.
So I was doing this exercises useful for good posture.
Mhm.
And I realized one exercise that it calls Brugger's relief position, that it kind of makes a really painful spot in front of the left shoulder every time I do that, and I just can't understand what it is.
So like here or what?
Yeah. Yes, right there.
Right there. Okay. So
Yes.
not more medial, more like fairly lateral, right? In
Lateral.
here, huh?
Yes.
Okay. And what's the exercise when you bring the head back or when you bring the arms out?
Yeah. When I extend my arms out and retract the shoulder blades.
Okay.
Yes, it started pressing right
And then
in front of
when
the
you stop that motion, does it go away again afterwards, the pain?
Yes, it goes away if I don't do that.
Okay. So probably, that you probably have a little bit of distress from a chiropractic perspective. We often have the shoulders a little bit forward rounded. And so that can be a little distressful on that. So I would just not go to the end range on that. I would just go to where you feel the pain. Or the other thing that I think you could do is, instead of stretching the arms back, you can focus on bringing the shoulder blade together in the back, and then not really stretching it from here, but sort of stretching it from the shoulder blades perspective. That way you don't distress, this part of the joint, that this bone is maybe slightly forward a little bit, or a little bit distressed because the shoulder is a little rounded or so, and that could be the cause of that.
Yes, I also found from the postural analysis that I have head forward.
Yeah, so the thing is, you might need to modify it, right? That do not do that, but the head back, that's a very good exercise to do, because a lot of us, with a lot of sitting and work on a desk, we are just prone to go forward. That's just unfortunately kind of our postural problems that we have in our culture.
Yeah. Okay, so I basically need to try to just retract my shoulder blades, not extend my arms. Right?
Yeah, see if you do come from the shoulder blade and not the arm reaching back, if it doesn't irritate it as much. And it, and then reach out, and you can talk offline, and I can see if I can help you, guide you through, so it's not hurting, or so it's helpful and not making it worse.
Okay. Yes, that might be helpful, I think.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah, I will contact you.
Yeah. No, I can share what I've learned over the years with patients on those kind of fronts, because it's, you know, we often end up not doing anything because it hurts, but it's just because the knowledge is not quite there, and a little bit of knowledge goes a long way.
Yes, yes, I have a pretty high pain tolerance, so I just tend to like, oh, it doesn't matter, and it's just always like there all the time, like from time to time reminds me, oh, I'm still here.
That's right. No, and it's, you know, it's challenging. We don't want to be all babying every little thing, but the body's language is pain, kind of. So if
Yes,
something is not right, the pain is kind of a help. In some ways, it's a pain in the butt, but it's helpful because it tells us something is not quite right. You know, it would be nice to have that with other organ systems too. Like, you know, how many people have a heart attack and they never think they had anything because there's no
Right.
pain. No pain when we get the arteries close off more. You know, we don't feel that.
yeah, so it's actually good.
Yeah, in some ways it's a good thing, even though it's like, you know, but that's why short-term ignoring your pain is like, oh, let me take an ibuprofen because I got to get through this day. That's fine, but long-term, that's not fine. You know, then we just tell the body to shut up, and that's not cool. That's a problem.
Right, right. Okay, maybe I will contact you.
Just give me a
Later.
call. Just shoot.
Yeah.
Give me a text. I have no problem having these conversations. Actually, as you can tell, I can go on and on and on.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else before we close it out?
I do want to share something real quick that I noticed when I did the posture analysis workshop. So I'm noticing that when it comes to me, as I had a post injury on my right trapezius, and for some reason, if I stand up straight with my posture wise, my right side tends to be a little bit more elevated and a little bit more inflated than my left side. So I've been trying to do exercises to kind of loosen that and stretch that nerve that goes all the way to the back of my head or my skull, and I just can't seem to really loosen that up. Like every single time, even when I go back, because I'm right hand dominant, if I stand straight, it's always elevated one side and it's not straight all the
So
way.
you're talking right here by the shoulder blade, right there, going up.
Yeah.
That one?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so the levator scapula, kind of, right? The levator scapula, likely.
I went to go see a chiropractor about it, and he told me that my supra and the sub were both inflated. But even then, it's been a very, very challenging injury that I've been trying to overcome, and I just can't seem to get over it.
And what's the injury?
It's probably a strain of all rotator cuffs and a strain all the way back up, but it's really, really like difficult. They told me it wasn't a tear, because if it was a tear, I wouldn't be able to move it.
Yeah, no, you want to, you know, with stuff like that, you want to look at the different structures, of course, and then I look at the, you know, skeletal area and then the muscular area after that, and make sure they all function. Some muscles, you know, if there's an injury, some muscles just kind of they get bulky, but they get weak. They're not functioning the right way, and so that can be something that needs to sometimes be looked at. But also, if it's a postural misalignment, if you just want to say, you know, your one side is high and you want to bring it down, what you could do is you can definitely help it by doing mirror image, by, you know, if this is up, you bring it down and do a mirror image, and then right here on top of, right behind the ear, you can vibrate a little bit, and then that sort of sets the that sort of gives the proprioceptive input into the brain to tell the brain, you know, that's the real posture, and then you slowly come to the midline a little bit over time. So that's one sort of a neurological helper. It's not going to, you know, it's not going to like cause it to all change, because what you really need to look at is the underlying injury. But you can help, if you have a postural deviation, you can always sort of do the mirror image and help with that. And then by stimulating the top vertebra, the C1, the atlas a little bit, you're sort of working that riding reflex in the cerebellum and help the brain understand that that's posture is what we kind of want. But also, we can still also talk offline at some point and go through your shoulder individually and give you, you know, and see what ideas we might have to help it, because
Yeah. I would really
Yeah,
appreciate
shoulders,
that. 'Cause it's
shoulders.
yeah. I don't like working on shoulders, man. It's
Yeah, it's
picky.
tricky. Yeah, it's tricky.
Yeah.
Got to be
Yeah.
kind of careful, and you want to really look at the alignments and then the muscle functions, and so yeah, I'm totally happy to have some convos on that. No problem at all.
Yeah. If you have like a couple of seconds after the meeting, that'd be great to talk about that. Maybe set some kind of arrangement where we can, discuss about certain postures. That'd be great.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank
Cool,
you.
cool. All right, excellent. Well, anybody else has something to share? Now that we're sort of going fairly deep on these things, which that's the reason why I teach this class is, of course, is because of those kind of exercises and wanting to promote the knowledge of one's body as much as possible so we can make good choices. Or at least if we're making dumb choices, it's because of our own dumbness and not because we didn't know. But anyway, with that, again, any more questions, just speak into me if you do, because other than that, I'll have nothing here and then we can close out the meeting and you guys go do work on it and reach out if you have questions and I go do grading in the background.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Wait. I actually do have a question.
Yes.
Okay, so for the coloring, like when you say we gotta color, like do you mean color the specific part, or like how should I color that?
Yeah, like if you like the glabella was right, that point you color here in the middle, and that's that area.
So I just colored the area, not like the whole thing.
Yeah. And
Okay.
then the muscle, just call it a muscle. What I want with that is just you spending a little extra time on the material.
So I have to color like, if it's like, okay, let's say the muscle is like a triangle, then I color in a triangle like that, right?
Yeah, like the trapezius in the back, you find that muscle on the pictures and then you color that muscle and you label that muscle.
Okay. Also, this might be a little late, but I've been trying to ask people how to like fill out the routine tracker card, but nobody answered me. And then I tried asking you, but you didn't answer me too. So I still need to do that, but I just don't know.
No, that's no problem. I know, I'm so sorry. It's been an evolving sort of way of doing it. And I'm trying to get clearer and clearer with it. And I'm really sorry that I didn't respond back. It's been a little hectic. I have an extra class this semester, so I'm running behind a little bit on something. But you just fill out 1 week if you got it in your materials. Did you get it in materials or you printed it out?
What I'm confused is the check mark. Like what do I do for the check mark?
Oh, just when you did the routine.
So if I do the routine, I just check mark that I did it.
Yeah, and then
the thoughts and feelings is just like what I felt about it.
Oh, like I drank my 2 liters of water and I had to pee all night, or whatever comes up in terms of an extra thought associated with that routine. And usually it's like at first it's like, oh, it was so hard to do, and over time it's like, oh, it's just second nature kind of thing.
Okay.
So that's all. But you at this point you can also send in the work in the little pamphlet, I think on the middle page somewhere, where I have you take a routine and sort of work with it. So you apply the knowledge of how to create a habit. That might be more pertinent at this point as well.
Okay. Also, one more thing. For this class, like all the terms that we have to learn, like the axial skeleton and the joints and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh my gosh, it's actually getting really hard. So I actually saw your study tips about how to do the flashcard.
Yes.
So I didn't really get what you meant by that. Like the first section, third section, fourth section, fifth section.
Oh, so when the way I learned it is the system called the Leitner System that was devised in the 70s by some German psychologists. And the sections sort of indicate the frequency of you testing yourself.
Okay.
So if you learn material fresh, then what I do is I have the cards and put like 10 in my pocket. And so when I wait at the grocery store line or so, and I have a couple minutes, I look at them a little bit and memorize some terms. And then then I put those cards in the evening. I put those cards in the first section or on the first clip, and the first clip or the first section, I test myself every evening or every morning or so.
Okay.
And, of course, don't just memorize the terms and then test them 5 minutes later and you still know them. You've got to be, you got to not cheat yourself a little bit. And then, but then if you know a term, then you retrieve that term once already in your brain and you remember it, then you can put it into the second section. If you didn't know the term, then it stays in that first section.
Oh, I get it now. And then like the more you get better, you just keep putting it backwards.
Yes. And that way you don't keep studying the material that you already know. You just focus on what you don't know yet.
Okay, cool.
So it's a really good system. It seems a little tricky, but it really works very well. And I've applied it a lot, and I have had a lot of learning disabilities and stuff like that. And so, yeah, the first section every night, the second, I think I do twice a week, the third once a week, and then the fourth a couple of times before the test. And so that's how I set it up when I do it.
So approximately how many flashcards would I have to buy?
Oh, I don't know.
Okay.
If you have other classes, then maybe use them for that too. What I did is I used the bigger flashcards in chiropractic school and did like one concept per card. Like I didn't necessarily do every muscle. I maybe do the muscles that anchor the shoulder blade into the chest, or like the way I structure them a little bit. And then I preferred doing it that way than having a gazillion cards.
Okay.
But it takes a little time to work your way through it. It's like, so I didn't always wrote down the answers for me to really know it. So I didn't, I'm kind of a little obsessive on that.
Okay.
But it worked really well. So that's what and then I would label the cards, on the top right. I say like, oh, this is anatomy, chapter 7, card 5 or so. And then I have a system.
Okay.
Because I always thought it was more useful for me to take notes on these cards than a big notepad. And then I have like 10 concepts on one pad, and I don't need to process every concept the same way in my head. So I just started taking notes on the cards and just bought them like, 200 at a time.
Okay.
Good. That help?
Yes.
Wonderful. I'm glad you asked.
I'm glad I did. Maybe people need to ask that question too,
I know, right? Well, we have a few on the call, and we'll put the thing up on YouTube anyway for later.
Yeah.
Viewing.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.
Thank you.